we don't have a lot of rules, things you can and can't do on a cheese board, but here's one that we think you should definitely know more about so that you can make good decisions, and that's putting flowers on your cheese boards. Now, it is all the rage right now. Every other cheese board on Instagram has got flowers on it. Do you want to know something? Half of those boards with flowers on it have flowers that are poisonous. I've looked them up, I've studied flowers, I've written, private DMs to them going, don't use that flower, it's poisonous. And beyond the fact that people are using flowers that are poisonous to people, and they might not kill them, but they could cause allergic reactions, they could cause an upset stomach, and quite frankly, who wants to be causing discomfort when you're making a cheese platter that should only bring happiness? So, how do we feel about flowers? I belong to garden clubs, I love to do flower arranging, I love flowers. So this is not an anti-flower campaign, but it is an anti the wrong flowers on your cheese board. So what kind of flowers can you use? You can use edible flowers. How do you find edible flowers? Really, here in the US, you need to find a package at a grocery store or at a farmer's market that says edible flowers. You can also mail away for some, but I will tell you, to do this video, I went to 4 different grocery stores, high end, low end, middle end, and none of them had edible flowers. So it's not an easy thing to do. And you say, well, oh, I know what this flower is and I looked it up. And like rose, like I have rose flavored things all the time. But what you don't know is this is coming from the flower department, and the flower department has no regulation on what it uses to keep the flowers fresh, to keep them lasting longer, and you have no idea, and quite honestly, the florist at your grocery store has no idea what was sprayed or what this was grown in or what it was boxed in or anything. That doesn't make it safe. And here's the other thing, you say, who's gonna eat the flower? Well, I don't know about you, but I have people in my family and my friend group who would be like, oh, Jen wants us to eat roses now, and they'd pick it up and just like jokingly take a bite out of it. But it's also sitting on things. It could be sitting on things that are wet, like olives or pickles, and it could absorb whatever the chemicals are on those flowers. So just be safe and only use edible flowers if you're gonna put flowers on your plate. That's the first thing. But you're like, I love flowers. I don't know anything about flowers. I don't even know what this is called to look it up. What do I do? Here's a secret. And we actually, this is a vase that we carry at shopboardsandco.com for this exact reason, because I love flowers so much that I wanted to make sure we had a solution for you that lets you use whatever flower you wanted. You can tuck this on a cheese board. You can tuck it next to a cheese board. You can use it next to your sink in the bathroom when it's not cheese board time. You can use it in your bedroom, you can put it on your desk, you can use this forever, but it's small and compact. It uses very few flowers, so cha-ching, you could, if you were entertaining, have, this was just a little like $13 bouquet. I pulled out a few flowers, that's all I needed, and now I have something for on my cheese board as well, or next to my cheese board if I had a really small cheese board. So put it in something if you're not using edible flowers. What else can you use? Well, you can use fresh herbs. Here's my suggestion on the fresh herbs. I wouldn't use basil unless I was making caprese. I was using it because basil, the minute it gets nicked, it gets bruised, it turns brown. If you aren't really careful with it, by the time company comes, it won't look good. It'll still taste good, but it won't look good. So basil I save for eating, but rosemary is a great herb to use if you need to use an herb. It's hardy, it looks great now, it'll look great in 6 hours, it'll look great tomorrow, and that's great. Sage is another one. This is one I would probably spritz before or just after I took it out of the refrigerator and dry it off a little bit before I put it on a plate, just so it's a little refreshed. If this is sitting out for a long time, it'll start getting crunchy and not look great. I am not a fan of thyme on cheese boards because thyme has these beautiful little leaves and it tastes delicious. I love it in lots of recipes, but it dries so quickly because it is so small. And I've been at parties where they've put thyme on it, and by the time, no pun intended, it's time to eat the cheese boards, that thyme almost looks like little stems. It looks woody, it's losing its stuff. It's just it's no longer offering what you wanted, which was green and alive. It's looking like dead and shriveled. So these are a couple good bets. And lastly, what I would say here is, and you could look at our don't overfill video as well, is that we have a tendency to create boards, or you've seen a lot of boards. You actually are probably making beautiful boards already. But what we see in social media are boards that are packed full with things, and then these flowers on top. Let me just say, the foods that I see people choosing are delicious foods. They're delicious cheeses. They're fantastic crackers. They're beautiful jams. They are beautiful in their own right, and they actually don't need these flowers. It is beautiful without them. If you want flowers, I, again, love flowers. I still want them at every occasion I ever have. I want to see fresh flowers every day. But think about spending that money that goes on your plate with the beautiful foods. Pick a watermelon radish that's rings of pink and green and white. Instead of worrying about trying to locate fresh, edible flowers that are gonna last for 2 minutes, nobody's gonna eat them, even though they're edible. They don't add anything to the flavor profile. So have fun with the flowers. Keep them in vases or get edible ones. And if you feel the need to do something, do herbs, but also just relax and think about the beauty of the food that the makers have made for you, letting that be your art and let that be the beautiful thing on your cheese board. So I encourage you to keep experimenting and do so safely. Please tell other people if you see them using poisonous flowers, just so they don't keep doing it. We do want to keep people safe. We want more people to eat more cheese on more cheese boards. That's what it's all about.